Hey everybody, and welcome to Meals with Melissa, where we come up with healthier options of the things that you love to eat. So, one of my favorite things is when clients send me recipes and say, hey, can I have this? And sometimes we have to tweak it a little bit, but a lot of times I'm like, oh, that's fantastic. So today we're going to make garlic butter shrimp and riced cauliflower. So this is courtesy of one of my clients, Amanda. She sent it to me about a week and a half ago and said, can I have this? And I went, I love the recipe. So now, a little different than normal. You're actually going to go with me through this for the first time. I actually looked at it and really kind of thought it out, but didn't get a chance to try it because yesterday was a little insane. But it's pretty straightforward. It's a little more ingredients than normal, but really a lot of it's just spices and making it ready to go. So, again, we're gonna start a little bit with the riced cauliflower. Now, for you, it's totally up to you. If you want to do, sorry, all my stuff is over here. If you want to do an actual head of cauliflower and rice it yourself, that's great. I'm just gonna do it the easy way because I can. So it really is up to you. Steamed works just fine, but we're actually going to fry it over here in just a sec. And of course, there's the hubby in the background right there. He's just go past. You're there. So here we go. All right, so I got shrimp. I am doing about a half batch right now just because I wanted to be able to utilize the stuff that I had at home. So there's gonna be a little tweaking here just because I don't always wanna run to the store. If you've ever done that, gotten ready to do something and then realize you don't have all the ingredients that you need. So I'm using about 12 ounces of shrimp raw. And now it is frozen, but it's gonna heat up pretty quickly as it goes. So I'm not too worried about that part. I'm also going to be using it's supposed to be unsalted butter, but it is going to be actual salted butter. So we're actually gonna forego the salt in the recipe. The first thing we're gonna do is do a little spicing of that shrimp. So I do have some pepper, and of course it just needs to kind of thaw just a little bit, but I am gonna use a little bit of pepper on that and let it sit. I've just got it on a plate right here so that you can, just a shallow plate, let it do its thing. Meanwhile, I am heating the skillet or my saucepan up to medium, and I'm going to do about a tablespoon of, supposed to be unsalted, but this is salted butter. Now, butter is not bad. I think because fats for a very long time were vilified and had a real bad rep, a lot of people think, well, butter's bad. No, actually margarine is horrific, so don't be using that. But butter's really not that bad, especially if you use grass-fed. Like my favorite is the Kerrygold, because I can get it at Costco or any of the areas right here in town. Or if you have somebody locally that actually makes butter from their grass-fed cows, phenomenal. That's the way to go. All right, so we're gonna get that heated up just a little bit, and now we're gonna start adding some minced garlic. Now, of course, you could do your own garlic and press that and mince it. That is not what I do at my house. I'm actually gonna just use the stuff that I get at Costco. So I'm going to do, again, I'm going through this for the first time, so I gotta read my recipe. I'm going to do half the garlic. Okay, so I'm gonna do about a tablespoon and a fourth of minced garlic, because of course one teaspoon, okay, hold on, I gotta make sure I get this right. So it's gonna be one and a fourth teaspoons, because a half a teaspoon is one clove of garlic. So if I get it off a little bit, I'm totally okay with that. I love garlic, and so does the rest of my family, so I'm completely okay with that. So I'm gonna add the garlic. I'm also gonna add about a fourth cup of, make sure that doesn't get too hot too fast. I'm actually gonna add about a fourth cup of onions. Now it calls for white onions. I have yellow onions on hand. Again, sometimes as a mom, you just do what you gotta do and use what you've got. All right, let me add just a little bit more of that. Like I said, I'm okay if I add a little too much because I love garlic. All right, so I've already got the onions chopped. I'm gonna throw those in as well. Kind of a weird workspace when you don't have a lot of counter space near your oven. It just doesn't work well for the camera. All right, so I'm gonna stir those a little bit and cook them until they start to become a little bit translucent. We want them to kind of, give it that fragrant smell as it's heating up with the butter. Now, of course, you could use oil, but I like butter. I like the flavor that it gives it. So I am completely okay with this. We actually do use quite a bit of butter at my house. Again, we just use, I know a lot of people think, hey, I just need to be lower fat. That's probably not true. If you are trying to lose weight, which I don't love that term, but get leaner, burn off body fat, you actually need to be eating more fats, healthy fats, and less carbohydrates. And if you aren't sure what I mean by that, go through my content on YouTube and find where I talk about what the different macronutrients do for your body. Okay, so I'm gonna let that cook for just a second. Let's look at the next step. Like I said, it's going to take a little longer than it normally would just because, of course, I'm reading every step and making sure we get this right. All right, so to that, oh, and it says don't let it burn. To that, I'm going to add my riced cauliflower. All right, now I'm just going to add the whole package. I'm kind of eyeballing it here. Normally, I don't tend to do that, but for this particular circumstance where it really doesn't matter how much we have of it because I can break it down into smaller serving sizes, we're totally fine here. I sometimes like to do this, you know, make myself a little bit out of, take myself some of it and then let my family eat on it. It's great. I've made something that's healthy and that there's prepared food whenever somebody gets hungry and we don't have to worry about whether or not somebody's there to make dinner. These days we're all busy, right? All right, so I'm gonna add the riced cauliflower and stir and let it cook for a minute. I might have to use, my teeth. There we go. Rather than grab scissors. All right, so I'm gonna add that and I'm just gonna push it around and let it do its thing. Oh, it's a little frozen, so, you know, give it a minute there. I actually might need to add just a little bit more of the butter. So let's give that a minute. See if I'll break it down. Like I said, I might add a little bit more butter just because this is probably a little more riced cauliflower than they intended, but that's okay. Like I said, I'm just gonna make a whole batch and then everybody in my family can eat on it. So yeah, I think I am gonna add just a little bit more butter. So let me grab that out of the fridge. All right. Just gonna throw that in, let it heat it up for a second. So you're gonna cook your rice first, then you're gonna transfer it into a dish and cook the shrimp separately. Remember, it is raw shrimp, so you wanna make sure that you cook it, but don't overcook it. Because I don't know about you, but if you've had overcooked seafood at all, you know it is like rubber, which is not fabulous. So quick story while we're talking, reason why I wasn't here last weekend, I was in Florida. Had a really great birthday / Christmas gift from my daughter and my husband, and we went and ate seafood in Florida, and it was awesome. Also visited the Chocolate Museum, which was amazing as well. So, had a good time. It was a quick trip. Got a little bit of rest, got to enjoy myself. But yeah, that was good times. I love to travel. It's just obviously with what's going on has been a little difficult to do. Okay, this is just gonna take a second. So meanwhile, let's look at the next step and see what it is that we need to do. I will, of course, include the full regular recipe down below. Now, a couple of things. There are a couple optional ingredients in this. Lemon zest, which I don't particularly love lemon zest in some of my savory foods. I feel like sometimes it makes it just a little, not sweet, but I just don't necessarily like that zing. Now, it is seafood. I do like lemon juice on my seafood. But you can do that with a wedge afterwards, so you can kind of control what you're getting out of that. There's been several recipes I've done lately where I made a first batch, it had lemon zest in it, and I really just didn't care for it, but by taking it out, it completely changed the flavor profile. So also, fresh parsley at the end. I don't have any of that on hand, so I'm choosing not to add that. I do have some dried parsley that I might add, but again, it's totally up to you. And then also red pepper flakes. Again, not a fan, that's just me. So you can add that to this recipe. It will be on the recipe that I put down below, so you can actually add that and do that. So sorry about this. What's taking the time is the butter. Just adding a little bit of butter. Okay, so here's how you do this to MyFitnessPal. That is my favorite tool. Realize it is extremely user-friendly. You're talking to a girl who's a technophobe. I really struggle with new technology until somebody really breaks it down for me, but MyFitnessPal works great. There is a part of MyFitnessPal where you can actually add the whole recipe, all the amounts, right? The amount of shrimp, the amount of cauliflower rice, and then you can decide how much of that, like a cup or 1/12 of the recipe is your serving size, and then you can add that directly to your day's intake of food. You're gonna have to play with it and practice with it a little bit, but it actually works out great. And that is why I don't include any of the macros down below, is because it really depends on what you're using. So if you use a different product, if you use maybe different hot sauce than I'm gonna use, because we do have hot sauce in this. If you use sriracha versus something else, it's not gonna be the same as what I do. So, okay. I see people popping off and on this morning. So I do save these to both Facebook and I upload them to YouTube. So you can always go back and watch anything that I ever do. All right, so this is just about done. I am gonna give it a little bit of a minute to cook some more. You want it to be just a little bit crispy, but not overcooked or burnt. So we're gonna give that a second. I had turned down the heat a little bit, so I've turned it back up and we'll let that do that. So let's look at the next step. All right, so once that's done, we're gonna stir in a little bit of broth and some Parmesan cheese, which, okay, couple of options. I tend to use grated because we buy the great big one at Costco. I have a big family. I shop at Costco. But you can also do fresh, which we also have on hand. But for this particular instance, I'm just gonna do the grated. So I'm gonna grab that. So we're gonna add some broth and some grated Parmesan cheese. Okay, we're gonna do that right now. All right, so I am going to add 1 tablespoon of broth. Again, some of this you might have to eyeball just a little bit. It might have to be a little bit more because I have more riced cauliflower than I believe the recipe calls for. So I'm just gonna kind of eyeball it just a little bit. Now it does call for vegetable stock. Again, I am using what I have on hand, which is chicken broth. So we're just gonna deal with that. All right, I'm gonna do about 1.5 tablespoons. All right, let's give that a second to start heating up. We're gonna allow that to cook, and then we're gonna add, so I'm using about 1 ounce of grated Parmesan cheese. We're gonna use about 2/3 of that in the recipe right now, and then the rest will come later. So let me grab a spoon. Okay, so we're gonna let this cook for a minute. And by the time we're done, this will be crispy. We're gonna transfer it into another dish, and then we're gonna work on the shrimp, which again, it's taking a little longer because we're kind of going through it, but it really won't take that long as you get to do your own. So I think it's a great option. Plan a couple dinners a week, make extra, and you can actually take it for lunch the next day as well. I fully believe in batch cooking. We're busy enough at my house that if we don't batch cook, then people tend to eat things they probably shouldn't. So batch cooking works great for a lot of people. You do not have to be a bodybuilding competitor to do that. Like it's just food prep. It's being prepared, which is a great tool when you're trying to be successful in your goals. All right, so to that I'm gonna add about 2/3 of the Parmesan. I love Parmesan, I'm not gonna lie. Remember that Parmesan zucchini or squash recipe I did a while back? Oh, I still make that all the time. It is one of my favorites. Okay, so about 2/3. About 2/3. Okay, and I'm saving the rest for the very, very end. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, good, we're gonna let that cook for just a minute. It smells good. Now for those of you that don't like cauliflower, and I know that there's a few of you out there, you know, use a different tool. We do use a little bit of jasmine rice at our house, not a lot, but you can, you know, you can just be reasonable. You know, if you are really having issues with insulin resistance or you're diabetic, might not be your best option, then something like this might be great. Or even zucchini, or pick a vegetable. You could do this over noodles. It doesn't have to be, get creative. I think one of the biggest issues that I run into with clients is they get bored and they don't realize you can make a great recipe. Turn it into, we do pulled pork or pulled chicken, you know, the shredded chicken with sugar-free barbecue sauce, or make it into a taco bowl, or get creative. It doesn't have to be boring. And remember that most spices and some sauces work great. You just have to pay attention to the ingredients. A lot of commercial spices actually contain sugar. So you might have to just make your own. All right, I really think this is gonna take a second. So let's look, I might even start a second pan just because this is kind of slow. Again, I did not make this in advance just because I had such a crazy day yesterday. Usually I do because I wanna see if I need to make changes or if anything doesn't turn out quite as planned, but that's kind of happening as you watch. So, okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're gonna move that to a different plate, and we're gonna let that set aside. So I'm gonna grab something from down here. I'm just gonna grab a small casserole dish and big enough to put that in, and I'll let it rest for a second. Once we get to the end, we're gonna combine it all back into the pan just to kind of heat back up just a little bit, because I would imagine this would be best served warm. So, all right, so I'm letting that cook off. Once we've done that, we're going to start again, and we're gonna add some more butter to the pan. Remember, you're not eating full tablespoons of butter. You're eating a portion of it, so don't stress. And I guess you could use olive oil. You're just not gonna get that buttery flavor. So I do like the way that butter actually helps brown the rice, or the cauliflower. Okay, still going, still going. So let's actually, no, we'll just keep going for a second here. Just, you know, bear with me. This will be a longer video than normal, but that's okay. Like I said, you don't even have to watch the full thing. Just go to the recipe down below and you can just make it yourself. Now again, I find the majority of these great recipes on Pinterest because what a phenomenal tool, right? You know, if you're looking for healthy recipes, you can type that in, you're gonna get all kinds of interesting things. Now, just be careful, just because it says healthy, you really have to do your due diligence and look at the ingredient list. I find it fascinating. Yes, natural maple syrup that comes straight from the tree might be a better option than, sugar out of the bag, but it's still sugar and your body still treats it the same. So, sometimes they make things sound healthy and natural, and while they might be natural, that doesn't necessarily equal healthy. So, okay, almost there. I really want to make this good because I plan on eating on this for a couple of days, so I don't want to short circuit my recipe here. So it is going to take a minute. It says a minute. It's going to be longer than a minute, so keep that in mind. It's getting there though. But I do think we're going to actually add a new pan and let that continue to cook in the back there. So let me grab a new pan. Oh, let's see. Yep. Better do a decent sized one. It just means I have to clean more, but that's okay. I would rather do that and get somewhere here. All right, so I'm gonna add another tablespoon of butter. Let's let that heat up. I don't need that for the moment. I'll just let it sit in that back pan. All right, so once that melts, I'm gonna add the shrimp, and I'm gonna cook them about 1 to 2 minutes on one side and start adding some more ingredients to that. Again, sorry, this is taking longer than normal. Well, maybe you just wanna say hi, I don't know. All right, so as soon as that gets where we need it to be, I'm just gonna let it heat a little bit faster by moving it around, and then I'm gonna add the shrimp. Sweet. Again, be careful not to overcook your shrimp. That is never good. All right, so just really quick, I am going to be substituting my own hot sauce. It does call for sriracha. I am not a fan. That is just kind of my thing. So I will be using something that I can get locally, which is Valentina's hot sauce. I'm also not a huge girl on spicy. I don't like what it does to my digestive system. So we carry this in my household in a great big container because I use a lot of it. So I do like hot sauce. I just don't like super extra spicy. So that's what we're gonna use today. All right, I'm gonna put my shrimp in there. Now it does call for medium shrimp, but I kind of like to get the small ones just because they come predominantly with no tails. So I don't have to do all that work. Although I just found one, that's okay. You can take care of that. Let's give that a minute to cook on the one side. I'm gonna spread them out. Pretty glad I grabbed a great big pan. We got the dogs outside barking. We have an extra dog this weekend. We're dog sitting, so. All right, so let's do that. Let's do this thing. So you're gonna cook the one side, and then to that, just make sure I get this right, we're gonna add some more garlic, and then we're also going to add a little bit of Italian seasoning. Don't have a lot left there. Onion powder, and make sure I got that all. Yeah, that's about it. Okay, so let's let that do its thing. Let's work on getting prepared for this next thing. Like I said, normally this goes a little faster, so bear with me on this. All right, we're good. Remaining garlic. Okay, garlic. I love garlic. Like I said, I can put tons of garlic in there all day. I'm cool with that. Okay, give this just a sec. And of course, we use frozen, but you can also use fresh. That is totally up to you. There's another tail. I'll have to deal with that in a minute. Okay, good, it's cooking. All right, so to that, we're going to add a little bit more garlic. It's a total of 2.5 teaspoons. So I think I'm just gonna add one more because I did about, 1.25. So let's just add one more. Like I said, it's totally up to you if you want to use fresh garlic, that's totally up to you. That just doesn't happen at my house, although I've seen on Food Network how they make it happen. Okay, so also we're going to add, let's make sure I get this right, Italian seasoning. So I need a half a teaspoon, which is over here. Somehow it got separated. So, okay, so half, I better add this to the shopping list. Okay, and then onion powder. Make sure I've got that as well, is going to be, I cannot find it. Onion powder. Not sure, not seeing, oh, there we go, 1 teaspoon. Okay, so we're good. I'll just seeing people in my background. Hard to do this when you're in a household full of people and everybody comes to the kitchen. It's okay though. Now you know that it's a real household, right? All right, add into that. So that was 1 teaspoon. Okay, perfect. All right. Stir to combine. Then we're gonna flip, make sure that they get cooked on both sides. Then we're gonna add a little bit of the hot sauce and a little more broth. Okay, I'm also gonna stir my riced cauliflower. Since it is cooking, it smells good in here, and I just made a mess. I didn't say I was a clean cook. The best part of this is that I do not profess to be the best cook in the world. I'm just not. But I do like to try new things, and I do like to help give you ideas because, you know, so many people think, well, you know, if I eat healthy, it doesn't taste good. That is not true. Part of the problem, of course, is that if you're eating a lot of processed food, it has been designed to make you addicted to it. So they call it, I'm not gonna be able to think of the word, but they do scientifically make that product so that you want to come back for more so they can sell more. That is how that's designed. They're looking for the bliss point where it's just the perfect, it's not too much, it's just right. So unfortunately, a lot of us get addicted to those flavors, and then our tongues, the way that our taste buds work, they get addicted to those flavors, and real clean whole food doesn't taste good. So you have to retrain your taste buds. Like, I love vegetables at this point. As a matter of fact, I don't eat a lot of chips or anything like that because A, it's just too much, it's overwhelming. Even things like milk chocolate, and I love chocolate, but milk chocolate is just too rich for me. Okay, so this is cooking. Let's give that a second. Now, because this is frozen shrimp, I am probably gonna drain just a little bit of the moisture off of this. I just don't want that much liquid to be in my recipe here. So probably just drain a little bit of that off once it's almost done before I add the broth and the hot sauce to it. Okay, I think my cauliflower rice is just about done. Yeah. Okay, it's gonna take a little longer than you expect it to, so keep that in mind. It says a minute. Yeah, that's not true. It's gonna take more than a minute. Okay. It's just starting to crisp up, so I'm gonna let that sit about 1 more minute while I deal with this. Just about done here. It's starting to boil, turn it down. All right, I'm gonna drain just a little bit, just because I just don't want too much liquid in it. Now that might take away some of the garlic, but remember we have some of that in the riced cauliflower as well. All right, there we go, not too bad. Okay, so to that I'm going to add, let me check. It says an 1/8 cup of broth. I'm just gonna add a smidge. It's already got plenty of moisture to it, so just for flavoring, I'm just gonna add just a smidge. Now, 1/8 cup is 2 tablespoons. So if you ever get to the point where you're like, nothing measures that, it's 2 tablespoons. So pretty easy to figure out. All right, so to that, I'm also going to add hot sauce. Okay. Like I said, just make sure I'm getting it right. Now, it says 1/2 tablespoon. I'm just gonna eyeball it. I'm just not gonna take that kind of time right now, because I want to finish this for you so that you can go make it on your own. So I'm just gonna drizzle that. And again, I don't like things overly spicy, so I don't need it to be too much. All right, we'll turn off the rice. Oh, that is perfect. See? It's got the onions in it. It's got the garlic in it. Fantastic. Okay, let me stir this up just a smidge. Of course, you want to make sure that the shrimp is done. Just, again, don't overcook it. Once they are done, they're going to be pink. You probably already know that, but, you know, I'm discovering most people today don't even know how to cook. That's one of the issues that we have with health. One of the health emergencies we have in our country is that people don't know how to cook, so they eat a lot of fast food and things that are just not healthy for them, and they eat them regularly, so that is a problem. All right, let's make sure I got all this. I'm also going to sprinkle the remaining Parmesan into that. And then I'm gonna push it to the side and add the riced cauliflower back to it. So we're just about done. Now again, batch cook it, put it in your fridge. You can reheat it a little bit when it's lunch. Your coworkers might squawk about the shrimp. I know they do about any sort of fish, because I've had clients tell me that. Nobody in my office likes the smell of fish when I'm heating it. I'm like, well then eat it cold, because that's how I learned to do it. When you are competing, you don't care. You just want food. All right, so I'm still gonna give that shrimp just another minute because a couple pieces aren't done. I'm gonna push that all aside and I'm gonna add the riced cauliflower. So I'm gonna add the rest of the Parmesan cheese. Again, if you're not sure how much of each of these, I'm gonna leave the recipe down below in just a minute here. Actually, once I'm done, I'm gonna do it right away today. Otherwise I get busy and I forget. If you are on YouTube, I'm working on getting back to all of my recipes I've ever done and making sure the recipe is on there. That's a tough one because I actually don't upload that myself. I have somebody else do it for me. And so I'm not there when, I should talk to him and see if I could just send him the pictures and he can somehow add that. All right. Oh my gosh, this smells so good. Like I said, anything with Parmesan and garlic, I'm in. That is, make my husband eat it too, so when I kiss him, he doesn't freak out. All right, got one more shrimp that looks like it needs to cook for a sec. All right, the rice cauliflower is done. I'm gonna take that off. And it's perfect. It's not overcooked, it's not burnt. It's just starting to get crispy, so that's awesome. And then once this is done, so this turned out great. Like, again, I don't always like to do this. I like to always pre-do it so I can see how it turns out to make sure. And I usually like to test it on my family to make sure that everybody likes it. I have a 12-year-old that's super picky. So if they like it, everybody's gonna like it. So stay tuned. I'm really trying to come up with ideas for how to get you to eat your vegetables, make them more appetizing, so that you realize they don't just have to be bland and raw. And you know, sometimes actually cooking vegetables can make it better, your body better absorb the vitamins. So perfect. Okay, it's ready to go. All right, so I'm just gonna combine, and actually it seems like it's the right amount of liquid, especially with the cauliflower coming into it. It smells phenomenal. So let's push that to the side. I know it's hard to see. I need a different setup. Normally we're baking something or whatever and I put it over here on my counter, but that doesn't work today. All right, so I'm gonna add the rice cauliflower and mix that all together and you're good to go. That's all you need to do. Now, if you really need to measure these out separately to make sure you're not getting too many carbs or making sure you're getting enough protein, you can definitely cook it separately and then add it when you are putting your meals together. That is totally fine too. We do that a lot at my house. So, all right, mix that together, just reheat it, and we're good to go. You guys, it smells so good. Hey, somebody send me a healthy recipe for jambalaya. That is something I've never had. Looked at having it last week in Florida, but just didn't get the chance. And that is something I definitely, so if you've got anybody here from, you know, Louisiana that wants to give me a really great healthy option recipe, might have to try that one myself. And there you go. I know it's hard to see since it's so far away, but it looks phenomenal. We're gonna test that out today. That's my lunch. So have an incredible day, you guys. Hey, give me lots of comments. If you like what we're doing, if you think of other ideas, I get my very best ideas from you guys. Again, like we got the recipe today with somebody saying, can I have this? So great way to come up with some great, not just great ideas, but to share so that we can all have a really good database of things that we can eat. They're good and taste good too. So have a great weekend, you guys. That is Meals with Melissa. Bye now.